A hearty hello to one and all. I am Alan Jr. G. TIDALGO, and today we are discussing the design features of language. Human language is a unique system of communication that enables the expressions of complex ideas through speech, sounds, or manual gestures. This sentence establishes that human language is special because it allows us to share complicated thoughts and ideas. We do this using sounds or speech and hand movements or sign language. Okay. Think about explaining a complex concept like democracy. You can use spoken words like government, citizens, and voting to convey the idea. Or you could use sign languages, gestures for these words to communicate the same concept. Okay, next. Studies analyzing the features of human language have highlighted its structured encoding of concepts. So scientists who study language have discovered that it's not just random sounds or gestures. It's a very organized system where words and grammar are used in specific ways to represent ideas. So, okay, example. The sentence, "the dog chased the cat," uses the specific order of dog, chase, and cat to convey a clear meaning. We understand who is chasing whom because of the structure of the sentence. Next, the comparison of human language to animal communication help us understand the expressive power of language. And when we compare how humans communicate to how animals communicate, we realize how powerful and sophisticated human language is. Okay, example. While a dog might bark to signal danger, a human can use language to describe the specific type of danger, the location, and the potential solutions. This shows the greater expressive power of human language. Okay, next. Hackett's design features. So this is Charles Francis Hackett, born on January 17, 1916 in Columbus, Ohio, United States, died on November 3, 2000 at the age of 84 years in Ithaca, New York, United States. Okay. In 1960, the linguistic anthropologist Charles Francis Hackett conducted a pioneering feature study of language. In the study, he listed 13 design features that he deemed to be universal across the world's languages. More importantly, these features distinguish human language from animal communication. While the first 9 features could also match primate communications, the last 4 were solely reserved for human language. Later on, Hackett added another 3 features that he saw as unique to human language. Thus, it can be said that human language share a general set of features that help set apart from communication among animals. Okay, let's proceed to the 13 design features of language. So the first one is the vocal auditory channel. Natural language is primarily transmitted vocally through speech sounds and received auditorily as speech waves, distinguishing it from sign languages which use the manual visual channel. The vocal auditory channel is the main mode of expression for human languages. So it's stated here no that transmitted vocally through speech sounds. So it's very common. No, it's a simple way of communication. So when you speak and then the words came out in your mouth and then someone receive it and enter into their ear or hear your voices, so this act actually an example of a vocal auditory channel. So, and then in the next sentence, stated below that the vocal auditory channel is the main mode of expression for human language, which is true because although there is some communities or deaf communities using sign languages or others uses written writ, uh, written communication, but the vocal auditory channel is the main mode of expression. So why? Because this is the majority of people or vast people uses this kind of communication. Number two of design features of language is what we call the broadcast transmissions. So language signals or speech sounds are emitted as waveforms. So very simple. When we speak, our vocal cords create vibrations, and then that travel through the air as sound waves. These waves are often described as waveforms because they have patterns of peaks and troughs, which are projected in all directions. So mabahin-bahin siya. Mabahin-bahin ang mga tingog. So normal lang ni siya, no? So these sound waves spread out in all directions like ripples in a pond. This is why people around us can hear us even if they aren't directly in front of us, but are perceived by listeners as emanating from particular directions and point of origin. Despite the sound waves spreading out, our ears are able to pinpoint the direction from which the sound is coming. This is because our ears are positioned on opposite sides of view of our head, and the sound waves reach each ear at slightly different times and intensities. Okay, example. Imagine you're in a crowded room and you're trying to have a conversation with a friend. Even though there are many other people talking, you can focus on your friend's voice by turning your head in their direction. This is because your ears are picking up the sound waves coming from your friend even though other voices are reaching your ears at the same time. So this is why humans are very special. No? We are unique. Okay, number three in the design features of language is the transitoriness. Language signals are considered temporal as sound waves rapidly fade after they uttered. This means that when we speak, the sound waves created by our vocal cord exist only for a brief moment. Once spoken, these sound waves dissipate quickly and cannot be retrieved or replayed. This characteristic is known as rapid fading. So the another term of this that transitoriness now is the rapid fading. In other words, this temporal nature of language signals require humans to receive and interpret speech sounds at their time of utterance. This implies that listener must pay attention to the speech as it occurs. They cannot rely on repetition or playback, making real-time comprehension essential, since they are not subsequently recoverable. So once the sounds fades, listeners cannot retrieve or play what was said. Okay. Example. Imagine a teacher giving a lecture. As the teacher speaks, the students must listen attentively to grasp the concept being represented. If a student is distracted and misses a part of the lecture, they cannot go back and rewind the spoken words. They have to rely on their memory or ask the teacher for clarification later. This scenario illustrates the transitory nature of spoken language. Once the word is spoken, they cannot be recovered. So, okay, number Number four of the design features of language is what we call the interchangeability. Humans can transmit and receive identical linguistic signals. This means that any human, regardless of their background or role, can both speak and understand the same language. This is a fundamental characteristic of human language as opposed to some animal communication systems where certain views may only produce specific signals and so are able to reproduce any linguistic message they understand. This allows for the interlocutory roles of speakers and listeners to alternate between the conversation participants via turn taking within the context of linguistic communications. This explains how interchangeability enables back and forth communication because we can both speak and understand. We can seamlessly switch between being a speaker and a listener in a conversation. This is facilitated by turn taking, where participants take turns speaking and listening, maintaining a smooth flow of communication. Okay, example. Imagine having a conversation between two friends. One friend might start by saying, "Hey, did you see the game last night?" The other friend then becomes the speaker, responding, "Yeah, it was amazing. Did you see that last time minute goal?" So this back and forth exchange demonstrates how both friends can act as both speakers and listener, seamlessly switching roles as they communicate. Okay, that's a simple explanation of interchangeability where both parties basically communicating or changing their ideas and thoughts or vice versa.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Melody Fabre. So, our topic for today is total feedback. So, when you say total feedback is a fundamental character of human communication and highlighting the unique ability to not only produce linguistic signal but also to perceive and reflect on them. The self-awareness enables individuals to continually monitor and adjust their verbal and non-verbal communication in real time, ensuring that their intended message and convey accurately and effectively. For enhanced, a speaker can assess the reaction of their audience, such as a facial expression, or nudes, or verbal acknowledge, uh, uh, acknowledgement, and modify their message accordingly. This might involve a clarified point of changing their tone to of tone even if rephrasing statement to enhance understanding the capacity of total feedback. So, effective dialogue of allowing to the more interactive and responsive communication process. So, in the context of form of animal communications lack of their level of feedback. For example, a bird singing may produce the specific call, but it cannot adjust its song based on the infinite understanding of audience in the same nuanced way human can. So number two is a specialization. In the context is a language that refers to the idea that linguistic signals are specially designed for communication purposes rather than the being byproduct of other biological function. This intentional use of language or differentiates It's from many animal communication systems where signal often arise essentially from other behaviors. So, for example, humans speak, use gesture. They do not. They do so with the explicit intention to convey meaning, share ideas, or express emotion. This focus on communication and defining characteristic of human language. In contrast, consider example of a painting dog. The act of painting primarily serve a biological function. It helps the dog regulate its body temperature. However, the same behavior can unintentionally convey a message, but each, to its owner, indicating the dog is feeling hot or thirsty. Here are communicative aspect. It's secondary to the primary biological function, is illustrating the lack of specialization in that signal. This distinction emphasizes how human language is fundamentally different from other forms of animal communication. While animals may use a signal of purpose of human language, intentionally crafted for unique communication alone making it a specialization system. So, number three. So, semanticity is a fundamental figure of human language that refers to the property whereby specific linguistic signal are tied to specific meaning. These associations are generally stable and understood with given language community, allowing for clear communication for enhance the word. For example, of specialization, a semanticity is a word sold in English and sale in French, but prefer the same chemical compound, sodium chlorine, demonstrating in how a single object can be represent of different language signals across the language. These show are relatively fixed of nature of association between the words and their meaning. Moreover, semanticity extends beyond fixed word meaning to more context-dependent signal, such as the crying for a baby. Baby crying convey a different meanings depending on the situation. It may indicate young hunger, tiredness of the need for the upper change, while the cry themselves are not fixed word, meaning they convey are understood by caregivers based on contextual cause of highlighting how semanticity operate even outside of tradition. Linguistic signals they dual aspect of semanticity. Effects of association of language and context-dependent meaning of nonverbal communication illustrated its critical role in effective communication.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is MICABALO, the Group 3 reporter. My topic is continuously of Ms. FABRE. The next is arbitrariness. There is no intrinsic or logical connection between the form of specific language signals and the nature of the specific meaning they represent. Instead, the signal and the meaning are linked by either convention or instinct. Means that there is no natural or logical link between the word we use, the signals, and what they mean, the meanings. In other words, the sounds or symbols we use to represent things are not directly related to the natural of the things. So, for example, conveyance of aggression in crabs strongly threatened crab express their potential intention to fight by raising their front claw, which is partially iconic given that crabs use their claw pincer to attack prey and defend against predators. So, this example of crabs using their claws to signal aggression contrasts with the idea of arbitrariness in human language. When crabs raise their claw to show aggression, the signal raised claw has a direct iconic connection to what they might do next, or attack or defend. Because crabs use their claw in combat, so the raised claw is a clear natural sign of aggression. Next is discreteness. Language signals are composed of basic units and are perceived as distinct and individuated. These units may be further classified into distinct categories. These basic units can be put in varying order to represent different meaning. The change in meaning is abrupt and rarely continuous. It refers to how language is made up of small, distinct units like sounds or words, which can be separated from one another. These units are classified into different categories. For example, vowels, consonants, words, and etc., and can be rearranged in different ways to create new meaning. For example, the word bat and tab, these words are made up of the same basic units, but the order of those sounds changes the meaning entirely. So this is a clear illustration of discreteness. Small, separate elements combine in different ways to create new meaning. Additionally, when you change a sound in a word, the change in meaning is often abrupt. For instance, changing the B in bat to C gives you cat, which has a completely different meaning. There is rarely a gradual shift between meanings. The change is distinct and immediate. This ability to shift meaning through rearranging these discrete units is a core feature of human language. So next is displacement. Also includes prevarication, which the ability to lie or produce utterance which do not correspond with reality. Like for example, I did not eat the cookies. This sentence is a lie if the speaker actually did eat the cookies. Then, the ideas about things not physically or temporally present at the time of the communicative event, such as a topic that is linked to the past or future. For example, displacement in time. Yesterday, I ate pizza. So the sentence refers to an event that happened in the past. So another example of displacement in space. The moon is made of cheese. This sentence refers to a concept that is not physically present in the speaker's immediately environment. Last one is productivity. Productivity is also called openness or creativity. It entails reflexiveness, the ability of language to be used to talk about language. Allow us to combine words in unique ways to express new thoughts, making it flexible and adaptable. An example of productivity in language is when a child who has never heard a specific sentence before creates something new like the green dog jumped over the purple house. Although this sentence is unusual, it's still grammatically correct and understandable. The child has combined familiar word in a novel way to express a new idea, which demonstrates the openness and creativity of language. Even if you've never heard this exact sentence before, you can still understand its meaning, showing how language allows endless combination of words to create new expression.
Hello everyone, I am Venice Coquilla and I am the third reporter. Now, human language is a unique and complex system that enables communications among individuals. So this presentation that I'm going to report is the continuations in Hackett design features that FABRE reported a while ago. And these two key concepts are the cultural transmission and the dual patterning. So when we say cultural transmissions, which highlights how language is learned with communities, while ang dual patterning, it is describe how discrete sounds are combined to create meaning of a unit of language. And now in a cultural transmission, Although humans are born with the innate ability to learn language, they learn a particular linguistic system as their native language from elders in their community. So, ang kuan lang no, akong pasabotan ni cultural transmission. It is more siyang akin to learn a game from others, just as you need someone to teach you the rules. For example, nga na, or because language is learned for kuan, diba? From your communities or social interactions. Just like kuan, a children is mimicking her parents' speech or speech pattern or vocabulary. More siya nga na, no? Because cultural transmissions is nag-highlight how we learn language through communities. So, mo na ako siyang pasabot sa cultural transmissions. So, in the sa duality of part learning. The discrete speech sounds of language combine to form discrete morphological units which do not have meaning in itself. These morphemes have to be further combined to form meaningful words as a sentence. For example, kanang sa English, in sounds, the letter key, A, and T can be arranged as the word cat. Nga na siya, and cat, a meaningful word. So this illustrates how sounds become meaningful only when it's constructed properly. So, hintay makasabot muna. Okay, sa evaluations of Hackett Design's features na test. Okay, there are 3 key limitations. Firstly, Hackett list is drawn up from the narrow perspective of spoken language. However, human language can be expressed in both audio vocal or spoken and visual manual or sign language modes. Signed languages are equally complex and fully grammatical linguistic system. So ang kining ang first niya giko which is the spoken language bias. So example, compare the American spoken language by discussing a complex American spoken language. Ang phrase nila that conveys no one's meaning. So demonstrating the sign language have their own grammatical rules like the verb placement and non-manual signal facial expressing. Secondly, Hackett list is a plain compilations of all discernible features of human language. It does not indicate which features are critical to linguistic system of communication. For example, the 6th and 7th features of specialization semantically are likely to be properties of all natural systems that have developed for communications rather than human language pairs. Ang kining sa second which is the compilations versus critical features. Kung ano siya, nag-highlight sa importance of difference between what is merely descriptive and what is essential. So, the concept of displacement discussing the past or future is crucial for understanding human communication. And thirdly, Hackett list includes many features that relate to the physical characteristics and productions of linguistic signs, either via speech or gestures, rather than language as a communicative tool. So, physical character versus communicative tool. So, consider the two, how physical act of speaking, bitaw, and differs from the cognitive act sa atong mental kibale, constructing a sentence. So, for instance, ones might produce sounds but not convey coherent meaning without a proper syntax. Gets ninyo? Now, let's move on to language as a communication system. Okay, any system of communication can be broken down into potentially 3 components, which is design, structures, and semiotics. So, when we say sign in a language, mo ni siya ang nag-discuss how phonetics examine the physical properties of speech sounds. While ang sign language, nag-study siya of the visual spatial speech or aspect of communication such as hand shape or movement. Mo makita nato sa kana sa TV bitaw na sa kanang balita, makita nato na sa kuan kanang gamay bitaw nga picture diha sa inang ubos sa balita. Dirita sa structures in language. Okay, Structures in language use a simple sentence like the cat sat on the mat to illustrate how different components or subject, verb, object are structured according to syntactic rules, so demonstrating the importance of order in conveying meaning. So, naga-depend gid ay nakakuan gid ang structures nimo para masabtan nimo kung unsa dira ang verb, ang object, imuhang gikuan dira sa imuhang sentence. Direta sa semiotics and language. Okay, explore how context influences meaning. For example, the word bank can mean a financial institution or side of a river, depending on the surrounding context. So, highlighting the role of pragmatic. So, it depends on how you use the word in the situations. And that's it. It's the end of the presentation, and the other remaining topic will be discussed by Princess Tagalog. And that's all. Thank you. God bless.
Sir, I am Princess May Tagalog, and my topic is all about environment cultural transmission. Fifthly, as a system of human communication, language is also a cultural tool. Yes, in some different human communities that are living in different geographical areas develop different cultures, and language is also part of it. All regions in a country consist of various of cultures, and language is the means used by humans for communicating with people living in different communities to exchange information and arguments with each other. Further, according to Maynard Smith and Seth Murray, 1997, language is unique in being both part of human culture and a system for transmitting cultural information as well. Language is a remarkable tool that is both a product of human culture and a powerful force in shaping it. Its unique ability to transmit cultural information and preserve tradition through oral communication and foster a sense of shared identity makes it essential for the continuity and evolution of human societies. Consequently, this helps explains the core language feature of cultural transmission. So, it is called cultural transmission because it refers to the process by which cultural knowledge, values, beliefs, and practices are passed down from one generation to the next. It is the primary means by which we learn, understand, and share our cultural heritage. Since humans need to acquire their native language from the communities they were born in. Rare case of children example is the case of Jenny. Jenny was born on 1957 as a feral child. So when we say feral child, it is a young individual who has lived isolated from human contact from a very young age, with little or no experience of human care, social behavior, or language. And Jenny was one of the victims of severe abuse, neglect, and social isolation. The extent of her isolation prevented her from being exposed to any significant of speech, and as a result, she did not acquire language during her childhood. So, children learn from their parents, and Jenny was not taught anything. Like, dini wala gid siya tulon sa iyang parents because they abused her. A child brought up in isolation does not acquire language. Lisod siya i-acquire kay syempre. Nagdako siya nga wala siya kabalo. Unsa na? So pagtuluan siya nga dako na siya, maglisod ang magtulo sa iya kay tungod katong iyang nature sa una is mo na to iyang naandan. So it really is hard to teach.
And this is the picture when Johnny was discovered and released in public.
So, let's go. Animal language. Do animals have language? Can animals talk and convey messages? Let's talk about it. So, animal language. While the name animal language might be a little of misnomer, when we say misnomer, it means using a wrong or incorrect name. It's essentially a name that doesn't quite fit to the thing it describes or doesn't accurately reflect the thing it's referring to. It serves as a good collective name for an animal communication as a whole. Since there has not been a single animal language that manages to fulfill all of Hackett's design feature, it serves as a good collective name for animal communication as a whole and allows for easy comparison with what we term human language. However, it is important to note that animals can convey various messages to each other, like for example, give warnings or to express the emotion of being fear and anger. In addition, animals communicate to locate food sources as well as their desire to willingness to mate. Thus, a more accurate term for animal language would be animal communication. The communicative capacity of animals is still not able to match the sophistication and productivity of human language. So that means animal cannot talk but can convey message through a variety of signals including body language, sense and vocalization. While animals has sophisticated communication systems, they generally lack the complex syntax, grammar, and abstract symbolism found in human language. So animals have communication systems that are adapted to their specific needs and environments. Comparison with human language. Since the 1960s, when Hackett first described a set of 13 features defining human language and how these features quantitatively made it distinct from other forms of animal communication, advances in the study of animal communication have also revealed closer similarities with some of Hackett's design feature of language. Yes, animal communication have similarities with some of Hackett's design features of language. It is like what I discussed earlier. Both human and animals convey information. They both express emotions such as anger and fear. Human and animals both communicate through the use of sound. Humans convey emotions through using words and tone in much the same way as animals' communication through sound. Honeybees, Apis mellifera, commonly known as the domestic honeybee, is a colonial insect living in hives that are made up of one queen. So the queen controls the population of the hive, laying fertilized female eggs or unfertilized male ones. A few drones, which is males. So drones live to mate to the queen of the hive. Para managhan pa sila. And thousands of workers or an infertile female. So their responsibility is for feeding, cleaning, nursing, and defending the group. So sila ang mangita og food sa ilahang hive. Like sila may manggawa sa ilahang community, sa ilahang place. Sila may mangitag food to collect food for their population. So, the workers are responsible for foraging for food, namely nectar and pollen, as well as tending to the young. So, sila galit yan, itag food. So, Apis mellifera. So, Apis is Latin for bee, and mellifera is the Latin for honey-bearing or honey-carrying, referring to their specific species production. German ethologist Karl von Frisch, 1886 to 1982, theorized that bees communicate the distance and the direction of food sources to each other via two kinds of dances, the round dance and tail waggle dance. Mons, Mons T. 2005. Therefore, indicating that bees exhibit a form of displacement when communicating with each other. So, exhibit a form of displacement and from Hackett's design, which is to convey ideas about things not physically or temporarily present, like they use language signals. So, round dance is usually performed when bees find food source which are less than 50 meters from their hives. Bees will run around in a narrow circles before reversing direction to their original course. This may be repeated a few times at the same location or move to another on their own come lang. Although a round dance communicates distance, it does not reflect the direction of Tarpi D and D. And that's all. Thank you.
So, good morning everyone. My topic is all about language. So, let's discuss the introduction of the language. So, language plays a vital role in establishing and maintaining the whole culture, including convention, habits, and practices of individuals and communities. Through language, we create and share with others identities, categories, values, and beliefs. So, if we say language, so a language is a system of communication that is used by humans. By language, we share ideas, we build a strong relationship with others, then we express our feelings. Now, kaning language, mo na itong ginagamit matag adlaw para makipag-communicate sa mga tao. Then, there are different values and beliefs of language. Dili lang kay isa lang kalingwahe kundi daghan pa. Now, that is what we call the language culture. But iba ang kultura ng mga lingwahe. Or, say for example, in our country, dito sa itong nasod, there is what we call dialects. You see dialects, it is the language that is spoken in a part of our country. So, sa ato arang nasod, mga lingwahe. So, example ani is Surigaunon, Kaunon, Manung, Bisaya, Ilocano, and so on. Now, those language is what we call dialects. I think there is 111 dialects that is spoken in our country. Kay kasagaran, common na ginagamit nato is Tagalog, English, Bisaya. So, muna itong ginatawag na native language. Native language, muna itong mga lingwahe natin ginagamit patagad lang makipag-communicate sa lain tao. So, let's talk about monolingual. A monolingual is the person that is able to use and understand one language at a time. One language at a time, these are the person nga makasabot lang sila usa ka lingwahe. Kaya lang makipag-communicate only one language. The next is the bilingualism. Bilingualism is the ability to communicate in two different languages. Bilingual education, the use of two different language classroom instruction. Example, kaya na ako magpag-communicate in Tagalog, kaya na ako magpag-communicate in Bisaya. Muna ang bilingualism. You can understand two languages or you can use two languages. The next is the multilingual. A multilingual person is one who can communicate in more than one language. So these are the person that is able to talk or to communicate two or more languages at a time. They can understand two or more languages. Now, if a person kung ang isa ka tao is kaya ni na siya mga nabalaan na mga words na laing language para sa nang sa Korean, Spanish, and so on. Nakay nakibala na ng mga words, gamay lang. Makonsider na ba ka og multilingual? Dili. It's because a multilingual person are the person that are actively or master makipagstorya or makipag-communicate into two or more languages. Pero kung nalang kay mga nahibalan gamay na mga language na para sa Korean, Spanish, di ka matawag ang multilingual. Nalang kay mga nabalaan. Mga highlight ng mga words or you have a shallow knowledge of that language. Pero if you will communicate makipag-communicate ka ato ng mga tao, mablangko gud ka. Dahil labi na og di jud mo master.
Colloquial language is casual and conversational. In fact, the word colloquial comes from the Latin words colloquium, meaning speaking together or conversation. Colloquialism is the linguistic style used for casual communication. It is the most common function style of speech. The idiom normally employed in conversation and other informal contexts. That's so colloquial language is used in public or for to conversation to other people, and then jargon usually means the specialized language used by people in the same work or profession. Internet advertising jargon includes the terms click-through and page views. This noun can also refer to the language that use long sentences and hard words. What is a jargon language? Jargon, also referred to as technical language, is the technical terminology or characteristic idiom of a special activity or group. Most jargon is technology involving terms of art, of industry terms with particular meaning within a specific industry.